Cinderella, the girl who believed in kindness. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom filled with golden meadows and singing rivers, there lived a young girl named Cinderella. Her real name had been Ella, but after years of sleeping by the cold fireplace, covered in ashes, people began to call her Cinderella. Cinderella once lived happily with her mother and father. Her mother was gentle and kind, always teaching her that kindness is magic that never fades. But when Cinderella's mother passed away, her father grew lonely and decided to marry again, a woman with 2 daughters from a previous marriage. At first, Cinderella hoped for love and friendship from her new family, but soon after her father died unexpectedly, everything changed. Her stepmother's true nature appeared, cold, proud, and cruel. She forced Cinderella to live in the attic, sleep on straw, and wear old torn clothes. Her stepsisters, Anastasia and Drizella, were spoiled and selfish. They mocked her simple dresses and soft voice. Every morning while they enjoyed breakfast in bed, Cinderella woke up before dawn to light the fires, cook their meals, and scrub the floors until her hands ached. And yet, she never complained. Every day, she remembered her mother's words. Be kind, even when the world is not kind to you. One sunny morning, as Cinderella was hanging laundry in the garden, she heard laughter from the village. A royal messenger was reading an announcement. Open quote, "By order of His Majesty the King, a grand ball will be held at the palace. Every young lady in the kingdom is invited, for the prince shall choose his bride." Close quote. The whole kingdom was thrilled. Dresses were made, ribbons were bought, and excitement filled the air. Even Cinderella's stepsisters squealed with joy. "Can you imagine?" Drizella giggled. "Me, a princess? Don't be silly," Anastasia snapped. "I'll be the one to marry the prince." Cinderella smiled softly. "I'd love to go too," she whispered. Her stepmother glared. You have no gown, no jewels, and no manners for a royal ball. Stay home and clean the house." That night, while her stepsisters danced around in their new gowns, Cinderella quietly helped them prepare, fixing their hair, sewing their dresses, polishing their shoes. When the carriage finally left for the palace, she sat by the fireplace and cried. Her tears fell silently onto the cold ashes. "If only I could go, just once, to see the palace." Suddenly, a gentle light filled the room. A soft voice said, "Why are you crying, dear child?" Cinderella turned and gasped. Before her stood a kind old woman with a warm smile and eyes that sparkled like starlight. "Who are you?" Cinderella asked. "I am your fairy godmother, my dear," said the woman, "and you shall go to the ball tonight." "But I have no dress, no carriage." Her fairy godmother lifted her wand and laughed. "We'll see about that." With a flick and a swirl of silver dust, magic filled the air. The old pumpkin by the door turned into a golden carriage. 6 mice became handsome white horses. The old dog turned into a footman, and Cinderella's torn dress transformed into a shimmering gown made of moonlight. Her hair sparkled, and on her feet appeared delicate glass slippers, glowing like crystal. "Oh, it's beautiful," Cinderella gasped. Her fairy godmother smiled. "Now go, my dear. But remember, the spell lasts only until midnight. When the clock strikes 12, everything will return to what it was." Cinderella nodded eagerly. "Thank you, fairy godmother." And with that, the carriage rolled toward the royal palace. The palace was more magnificent than she ever imagined. Crystal chandeliers glittered above a marble floor, and music floated through the air. As Cinderella entered, everyone turned to look. Even her stepmother and stepsisters didn't recognize her. The prince, who had danced with many but loved none, saw her and was speechless. He took her hand and asked softly, "May I have this dance?" As they danced, it felt as if the world had disappeared, just the two of them, moving in perfect harmony under the golden lights. "Who are you?" the prince asked. Cinderella smiled. "Just someone who believes in kindness." Hour after hour, they danced and talked and laughed. But suddenly, the great clock began to chime. "Dong, dong, dong! Oh no!" she whispered. "It's midnight!" Without another word, Cinderella ran down the palace stairs. The prince called after her, but she was gone, leaving behind only one glass slipper on the steps. The carriage, the gown, the magic, all vanished. She was once again in her torn dress, running home through the moonlit streets. The next morning, the whole kingdom buzzed with excitement. The prince had declared, open quote, "Whoever fits this glass slipper shall be my bride," close quote. The royal guards visited every house, every village. One by one, the ladies tried on the tiny slipper, but none could fit. When they reached Cinderella's home, her stepsisters tried desperately. They squeezed, pushed, and even held their breath, but the slipper wouldn't fit. Then Cinderella stepped forward quietly. "May I try?" Her stepmother laughed. "You? Don't waste their time." But the prince's servant nodded. The order was to try every maiden. Cinderella sat down and gently slipped her foot into the glass slipper, and it fit perfectly. At that very moment, the prince himself arrived. He looked into Cinderella's eyes and smiled with recognition. "It's you," he whispered, "the one I've been searching for." Her stepmother and stepsisters stood frozen in disbelief as the fairy godmother's soft laughter echoed in the air. With another wave of her wand, Cinderella's rags turned once again into the glowing gown from the ball. Soon after, the palace bells rang in celebration. Cinderella and the prince were married in a grand ceremony attended by everyone in the kingdom. Even her stepmother and stepsisters were invited, and Cinderella forgave them with a smile. For she had learned long ago that kindness is stronger than cruelty, and love is more powerful than envy. In time, Cinderella became a beloved princess, not because of her beauty or her gown, but because of her gentle heart. She ruled with compassion, and the people often said, open quote, "The magic that changed her life wasn't in a wand or a dress, it was in her kindness," close quote. And so Cinderella lived happily ever after, reminding everyone that even when life covers you in ashes, you can still shine brighter than any diamond.